This is not typically the type of video that I make, but I'm making this video because I heard something very disturbing about a week ago now that I wanted to share with you, because I implore you, after you spend a little less than 5 minutes watching this video, like the title says, to please take at least 5 minutes to talk to your children, just ask them a few questions. I have a son, he's in middle school, and he's an athlete. He's a student athlete. He plays multiple sports. He plays basketball. He plays football, often during the same season. We love athletics. We love the way that really allows children to develop into adults, learn about leadership, team effort, sportsmanship. Last week, while at one of his practices, we heard from one of the coaches on the coaching staff in one of the leagues he plays in that allegedly, and I'm using this word very strongly here, allegedly there was a rape in the locker room of one of our local high schools. I heard details I will not share here. Again, I know nothing more than anyone else who has heard about this alleged incident, okay? I've looked for what I can find on the internet, and there's next to nothing. Our local news station did report on an incident, as it's being called, and the police are involved. Out of respect for law enforcement and anything they're doing in regard to an investigation, I will make no assumptions. I am using the word allegedly. It has been almost 2 weeks now since this has happened, and we've not received any communication from the school system. I would venture to say they are probably allowing law enforcement to do their jobs as well, so that the facts can determine the outcome of this situation, not hearsay and rumors. I think that's commendable. However, at the same time, I know we all want to know that our children are safe when they're in school, when they're on the bus, when they're coming and going back and forth, when they're out there playing their sports, when they're in the locker room. What we can do as parents is we can talk to our children. There was an incident that happened last year with my son when he was in 5th grade. He came home and he had a bruise on his cheek. We asked him what happened. How did you get that bruise on your cheek? And he told us that there was another student on the bus who turned out actually to be a girl who was getting on the bus at the end of the day as they were going home, and she was just pummeling boys. She was picking a different boy every day. She would punch the kid until he cried. And that day, it was our son's turn. We found out that day that was not the first time it had been his turn. And he shared the names of some other kids who this was happening to, some other boys who were being pummeled by this girl. And our son said he felt like it was such a terrible situation to be in, because he wouldn't defend himself. He wouldn't defend himself physically. He wouldn't push back. Because he knew it was a girl, and he knew it was wrong to hit a girl under any circumstance. And we told him, buddy, it's wrong to hit anybody under any circumstance, unless, of course, it's self-defense, or your life or the life of someone close to you is on the line. And we said, how come you haven't told us about this? You know what he said? He said, because you haven't asked. And that's when his mother and I realized he's right. We were part of the problem here, because we simply had not been communicating with him about what's going on at school. Are you being bullied? Are any of your friends being bullied? Are you seeing anybody you don't know getting picked on? These are the conversations we need to be having with our children. We don't need to be blaming anybody. We need to be speaking and communicating with our children. We called the school. Our child had a class act principal. She was wonderful. One of the greatest educators we've ever had the pleasure of dealing with. She nipped the problem in the bud. Turns out there were several girls on several different buses who were doing this, and then they would go to school the next day and exchange notes, and they were kind of bragging about what boys had made cry that day. They were good kids. These girls weren't bad kids. They just made some bad choices. But the principal dealt with them. By the end of the school year, they were all best good buddies again, and the behavior stopped. But it was only dealt with because me and my wife and some other parents, friends with our son, we kind of talked to them, and they took the time to talk to their kids as well. So please, I implore you, after watching this video, please take 5 minutes to talk to your children and ask them if everything's okay at school.